Arsenal's midfield has had so much rotation this season. And this is a key area of the pitch that I think Arsenal might be overlooking if they really want to take this team to that next level. We've had news coming out of Jorginho signing a new deal. I've heard positives and negatives about it, and I've actually got an opinion on it that maybe not everyone else will agree with, but I would, of course, like to get everyone else's opinions on it. We got so much to talk about in this video. I want to talk everything Arsenal's midfield. I want to talk Thomas Partey, Declan Rice, Martin Odegaard, Jorginho, and maybe some incomings as well. Before we get into it though, do me a quick favour, just hit like on this video. So the first place I want to start is offering Jorginho the right decision for Arsenal to make at this time? Like I said, I've seen so much negativity towards this Jorginho deal. And look, I think the negativity is based on the fact that he's already got an option of extending his deal for an extra year anyway. So people are kind of unsure why Arsenal have gone that step further to offer him the extra year. So essentially, we've got dibs for Jorginho on 2 years now. Look, the way I feel about Jorginho is I still think he has things to offer. I still think Jorginho has certain aspects of his game that maybe not every other Arsenal midfielder has. But I also would agree in the opinion that maybe next season his role will decline slightly. Maybe he'll roll back his minutes, and maybe we'll get to a point where if it's not Thomas Partey, there'll be someone else brought in to cover most of their minutes, certainly in the big games. I think Jorginho has showed that he does have ability to play in those big games this season. I mean, we've seen some good performances from Jorginho, but I do worry not just about the age, because he's not old, but I think the way that he plays, his lack of pace, I think that goes against him. Now, of course, Jorginho has his pluses. Of course, he's very good at moving the ball. I mean, he has got caught a couple of times this season in possession, but in Arsenal's midfield, I mean, who hasn't? We've seen Thomas Partey come in and the same things happen, so I don't think you can rule that out completely and hold that against him. But I think if this Arsenal midfield wants to progress to the level that they want to get to, I think ultimately you do have to upgrade that midfield position. I think you do need to bring someone else in, but we've got two central midfielders at the minute that there's definitely questions on, and this is where you guys come in. I would love for you to let me know, what do we do with Jorginho and Partey? What would you do, more to the fact? Would you keep Jorginho and would you keep Thomas Partey? Look, if they're both at 100%, it's very hard to argue against it. I think the Jorginho one for me, like I said, I probably understand them keeping him, but again, I would roll back his minutes. And in Thomas Partey, it's difficult because he is at an age now where, again, he's not super old. I mean, he's in his 30s. He's early 30s, though, so he probably still does have another couple of good seasons in him. But it's just whether he has the ability to keep fit. You know, that's my frustration with Partey, is he's such a good player. When he's on form, when he's sharp, when he's match ready, you know, there's not many centre defensive midfielders in the world who possess the ability of Thomas Partey, not just defensively, but it's progressive. His passing, his ability to just cut through a defence, you know, and find the likes of Saka, Martinelli, Trossard, whoever's playing. I really like the way that Partey plays that midfield. And if we do go out and sign another central midfielder, I'm actually looking for Thomas Partey, but 5 years ago, and well, maybe 7 or 8 years ago, and minus the injuries. I think that's the guy that Arsenal need. I think there are a couple of options out there. I think an interesting one is not a lot of people. There's been a few people in my comments suggesting that maybe we should give Zenchenko a go in that position. I understand the logic. He plays there for his country. But look, I think where Arsenal are, again, if we want to progress to that next level where we are seriously taking over Man City and maybe going ahead of teams like Real Madrid, Bayern Munich in the Champions League, I think you need specialists in those positions. So can Zenchenko do a job there? Yeah, I think he's good enough to actually play there. But will he sort of possess the ability needed to really make Arsenal go up to that next level? I think that's where I would have my reservations with Zenchenko. Again, nothing against the player. I think defensively, he's probably not, you know, as good as what we need in terms of if we can go and get an Onana, a Bruno Guimaraes, zubimendi, someone like that. So I understand in terms of technical ability, I think Zenchenko does offer things in that position. But for me, I wouldn't be using Zenchenko as an out-and-out central midfielder. Let me know your thoughts on that. But you know, that does leave us with a question. What kind of player are we going to bring in? And this is where it's all going to be subjective. I think everyone's going to have different opinions. You know, I struggle because it depends what Declan Rice is. You know, it's difficult. Declan Rice is played in 6 and 8, and he's so good in both positions that it is difficult to try and work out where he is best. I think he does have qualities to play that 8. We've seen him get forward. We've seen him with some great assists. We've seen him chip in with some important goals as well. But for me, I do still think Declan Rice's best position is in that number 6. I mean, it's not just me that thinks that. Declan Rice has actually come out and said he prefers to play that 6, or he prefers to be further back. You know, he's played central as a central defender for portions of his career as well. So it's an area of the pitch that he definitely feels comfortable in. And for me, I just like Declan Rice. I think he's very good at breaking up the play, being that body, being that engine, being that physical presence in that 6 position. I just think Declan Rice really suits that role for Arsenal. And then I think if you can go out and sign a very close to world-class or a world-class number 8, I think we would see this Arsenal team kick on and actually overtake the likes of Man City, because I think we would then have a stronger midfield than Man City, than Real Madrid, because we're very close already. I think we've got potentially the best number 10 in the world, especially on form at the minute, and in Martin Odegaard, who we will come on to in a second. I've got some opinions on Martin Odegaard and his position. So you would have Martin Odegaard in 10, Declan Rice in 6, and if you can go and get a Bruno Guimaraes or a Douglas Luiz or a Paquetá in that number 8 position, then I really think Arsenal will be in a position where we can strongly be considered to have the best midfield in the world. And people might be shocked by that, but it's not really a far cry for me to say that, because at the minute we've already got 2 of the best positional midfielders in their positions, in Odegaard in the 10 and Rice in the 6. So in terms of personnel, who would I bring in? In that 8 position, I think I've just mentioned the names. I think you can go for a Douglas Luiz, a Paquetá, or a Bruno Guimaraes. I really like the thought of Bruno Guimaraes. Now, it's interesting because I always thought his position was in that number 8. I think he is quite mobile. I think he can get forward. Now, I don't watch him, obviously, as much as some Newcastle fans. And the ones that I've listened to have actually said they think he actually excels more in the 6. But I think that the beauty is he definitely has the ability to play both of those positions. So I think if you buy Bruno Guimaraes and play him as an 8, I think in this Arsenal system, he really has the qualities, the tenacity and the fight really needed to elevate Arsenal's midfield. So if I had an option, I would probably go for Bruno Guimaraes. Now, the only thing is the price tag. Newcastle are not going to cut a deal. Newcastle are not going to be willing to drop the release clause. So if you want Bruno Guimaraes, we know he has a release clause that comes into effect in the summer. So if you want Bruno Guimaraes, you're going to have to go out there and stump up a lot of money. £100 million or 100 million euros. Is he worth it? It depends. I think if you're a team like Man United and you're going to buy Bruno Guimaraes for 100 million, then I think, you know, he's not really what they need. They need that money in a lot more areas. But for Arsenal, if we can spend 100 million on Bruno and he's the difference between us winning the title and not, now he wouldn't be the main reason. Of course, we've already got the foundations. We just need that last few bricks now to really compete and show everyone that we are now ready. Now, we could be ready now. This Arsenal team still has the ability to win the title this season, but I think if we was able to go and get a Bruno Guimaraes, then I think that would take us to the next level. Again, the only reservation I have is in that £100 million price tag. I think that's a lot of money, but maybe that's what you need to spend if you really want to go that extra step. Let me know your thoughts on it. Do you like Bruno Guimaraes, or do you have another number 8 or a number 6 option in mind? Like I said, maybe some people will want Rice in the 8, and then in that case, maybe you go for a Zubimendi. Maybe you go for an Onana from Everton, who I like the profile of as well. But let me know what you would do. And then let's talk about Odegaard, the number 10 position. What do you do there? Arsenal have a lot of, well, I'd say a lot of backup options. We've got a couple of backup options for Odegaard in this team at the minute that Mikel Arteta seems reluctant to utilise. He doesn't like Fabio Vieira there over Odegaard, or he doesn't like Emile Smith Rowe, because important in games that maybe that are less important, you know, he still plays Odegaard for the 90 minutes, and he only ever seems to take Odegaard off, especially in the last few games, if it is like a defensive action. So if a team's getting on top of us, he'll take Odegaard off and he throws Kivior on, as we saw in the last game. But, you know, where does that leave Fabio Vieira and Emile Smith Rowe, who I think both players do have qualities and actually do have the ability to be Premier League players, but is it at this level? Are they Champions League winning players? Are they Premier League winning players? Could you use them as rotation players? It doesn't seem that Mikel Arteta wants to use these players in that position, so then you would probably have to say no. So then that leaves you asking, do you need to find a backup for Odegaard? Odegaard's been brilliant this season, especially the last few weeks. He has looked absolutely mesmerising. Like the way he plays, the natural ability and technicality that Odegaard plays with is, like I said, I've said it before, I don't have the ability to put it into words what Martin Odegaard does on the pitch, because it leaves me speechless. He's so good. And the drop-off, if you was to bring someone else in, is so big. So do we need to go and sign a backup number 10? So on 60, 70 minutes in certain games, you can actually bring Odegaard off and keep him fresher for this latter part of the season. Now, I don't think he's been flagging. I don't think he's looked tired. But after a few years, if Odegaard's playing 50, 60 games a season for 5, 6 years in a row, I don't think that would be beneficial to Odegaard's career long term. So I think if you're not going to use Vieira and Emile Smith Rowe, would it maybe be an idea to bring in a number 10? Let me know your thoughts on that, because there are, of course, other positions that we need to strengthen as well. I think we need some depth in the wings. The striker position's an interesting one. Both of those will be a subject for another video. In this one, I just wanted to focus on that midfield position. I really wanted to see where everyone's head's at in terms of what you would do going forward. Do you think this Jorginho deal is a good idea? Do you think Thomas Partey has the ability to have the same sort of option from Mikel Arteta of staying an extra year? You know, we heard that Edu has been in Dubai this last week or a couple of weeks to kind of try and make some links into Dubai. So that maybe suggests that, you know, if we can offload players like Partey, Gabriel Jesus is even a story that's being linked recently. So that, again, will be a subject for another video for sure. But let me know your thoughts on Arsenal's midfield. Thanks so much to everyone for watching and listening. Before you go, like I said, please just do me the favour of giving me a thumbs up on this video. Just like it and subscribe, and I'll speak to you all in tomorrow's video. Gooners, have a good day.